you quickly find, once you're sitting across the room from someone, the shoulds, because we say them out loud, kind of how I have already done in this podcast with you. My shoulds came out pretty quickly, and I think that the cool thing we get to do as therapists is highlight that when we hear it and reflect back to the client that's sitting across from us and say, I'm noticing that you said should a lot about this one thing. I wonder if this is something that you feel some pressure associated with. And it opens up this whole new journey that we get to go on together to explore maybe where those shoulds came from. Uh-huh. Why are they there? Who is contributing to the shoulds? Who is creating some resistance to the shoulds? And it starts small with just noticing that. I'm sure you can identify with that as a fellow EFTer, that the only homework we'll ever give is to just notice. And so that's where I like to start with my college students. If should is something that is relevant to them, just noticing it and sitting with it and welcoming it, instead of also doing what we normally do by suppressing and saying, oh, I hear you.
Curiosity is such a great skill when it comes to all of this, of sitting with, oh, that's interesting, I'm thinking this in association with that, rather than the judgment of, why am I doing this? Because that's what shuts us down. That's what keeps the emotions suppressed. And when we are honest with ourselves, when we bring it to the forefront, when it's up here, it's a little hard, but at the same time, then we can do something with it. We're now empowered with it. We now can, we're in control rather than the emotions themselves are in control. And so if you're a parent, who is concerned about their college student, they aren't acting the same, they're not texting as much, you notice them shut down, they're way more reserved than they ever were, they're not as passionate and as excited as they were before. There's some of these important questions of, are you feeling a lot of pressure? Are you experiencing high levels of anxiety? Is college not manifesting in the way you were expecting? Can really open the door to give them permission to talk about it, because a lot of times it's the should itself. I should be happier, I should be doing better, is what prevents us from talking about it, because we don't want to be perceived as not succeeding in college.
Yeah, I've kind of used the metaphor before in explaining to people who aren't familiar with the therapeutic process that kind of like you would be going into surgery for something that's causing any kind of infection in your body. You find it and it's uncomfortable and you have to do something with it. It has to be nurtured or taken out or acknowledged and dissected, and it kind of hurts and you're a little bit sore after. But that means that you're doing the hard work and you're doing the opposite thing that we are typically comfortable doing, is suppressing. And what we know about, if it's an infection, it gets worse over time. So a good sign is if it starts to just a little bit buzz of pain, that means we are kind of right where we need to be. We've found it. And so I think bringing some light to the fact that it's okay to sit in the uncomfortable feelings with someone that you trust in therapy too. I think that's important to note
that creates healing.
Right.
It's much easier to heal something small that is starting to grow, create healing around it, than to have to heal something that's huge. It makes me think, this is a weird example of Dr. Pimple Popper, that show that's out there. And one of the things, I don't really watch that show, but I've seen the commercials and things, and it's just the sores, the wounds, the areas that need to be taken care of by this doctor are huge. And the question I always have is, what made them wait so long to ask for help with that? Right. And it's the same thing with mental health. Why are we waiting so long to ask for help? In our marriages, I see this in marriage therapy as well. The average, I think, in the statistics is most people suffer in their marriage for 8 years before they finally admit they need help and start seeing a couples therapist. And what's sad is sometimes there's so much water under the bridge, it's really hard to come back from that. When if we asked for help in year 1 or 2 of the struggle, then there could have been a lot more work and a lot more healing that could have happened to repair and create a loving marriage. And so it's just kind of that bigger picture of, when you're struggling, the more we're honest with ourselves and authentic with ourselves, the more likely we're able to get in control of that struggle and move forward in a really positive way.
Yeah.